Hey guys, today's topic is called the era of comparables and why they matter now more than ever. So, I guess the first thing to explain is what is a comparable in real estate sense. So, if you're looking to buy a house or sell a house or even invest in a property, buy a property, uh, you would typically look at comparables. A comparable is a recent sale in the area that compares to the home that you're looking for. So, similar square footage, similar floor plans and layouts, similar bedrooms, similar bathrooms, similar size lot, and amenities. So maybe both have a hot tub, maybe both have a pool, or just you're trying to find a recent sale in your area, neighbor that you're looking at buying a house in or selling a house in that is as close to your home as possible to give you an idea of what the home's worth in today's real estate market. So, fun fact, by the way, if you are selling your home, buyers determine price. You can suggest a number in the world, but buyers determine value. So if they're willing to write an offer on your home, that'd be the price it's worth. Buyers dictate price. Anyway, so a comparable. So historically speaking, in Halifax and Nova Scotia, a comparable, the market didn't really move for at least a decade from 2009 to 2019, where we really only might have moved, the home prices might have moved maybe 5,000, 10,000, at most 15 to 20,000 between those 10-year run. So the real estate market was really stable. We didn't see a lot of wild adjustments in home values. So the market was the market. You knew what the market was. And comparables, yes, they were looked at and considered when trying to price a home and or find value in a home buyer, but they weren't quite as a dominant topic as they are today. So we're fast forwarding today. It's February 2026. And the reason why comparables matter and why you need to consider them is because in the last 6 years, Halifax and Nova Scotia has had so much volatility. Actually, even dating back to 2019 when bidding wars started to happen. We've had major home price valuations go skyrocketing in parts of the province, Halifax in particular. Um, All-time low interest rates in 2021 going into 2022, back when the Bank of Canada said they were keeping them at low interest rates till the end of 2023. All-time high demand in peak 2022 when home prices peaked at $617,000 in Halifax. Then the Bank of Canada realized their issue with that statement, and started raising interest rates to cool the real estate market down. It was too crazy all over the country. It was too many bidding wars. There were too many buyers. Cash was too cheap to loan from a bank. So then you get the volatility of increased interest rates in a really short amount of time. Inflation was never a big deal. Cost of living was a really big deal. So all these constraints on home buyers and all these constraints on pre-approvals and what people could afford in homes put pressure on the real estate market. So then you see home prices start to come down from that high peak of 617. They bottomed out at about 480, 490, 490,000 per unit in August 2023 was when that whole thing shifted. So then they start cutting rates because they realize, oh crap, we have a problem here. No one's transacting real estate. Most of the people's life savings and wealth is stuck in real estate in Canada. So we have to do something about this. So interest rates starting to get cut, programs start being made, and you start seeing home prices come back up. Then you get into 2024, 2025, election cycle, talks of ending the temporary foreign worker program, or too much immigration, too many foreign students coming into the province, city, the country. So those programs start getting scrapped, which then means less demand on rents, less demand on housing, less demand on units. So understand the last 6 to 7 years has been really volatile for the city of Halifax and the province of Nova Scotia. Why does this all matter? You have to understand, real estate pricing is only tagged to comparables. That's how we find value in properties. If you are selling a house or trying to buy a house, you are looking at comparables. So why did the real estate market run away? Well, the real estate market ran away in 2021 and 2022 because there was always a comparable to justify the price. So home buyers back then are worried about, am I overpaying for this house? Will this have value in 5 years after my fixed term mortgage is up? Well, that's simple. That house next door, similar square footage, bedroom, bathroom, condition of the actual house itself sold at $500. This is listed at $399. We can go up to $525 because that will justify the price based off that comparable. And then the dog's eating its own tail. Because you buy it for $525, the next person thinks, okay, well, that's for $525. I can do a kitchen, I can do a bathroom, all probably worth $560, $570, $580. And that's how the market starts running away from each other. Banks then look at comparables, and appraisers use comparables as a way to price homes for loaning operations. So once again, you are now using comparables for the strength of considering the valuation of this home. Why does this matter? When you fast forward to today, this matters because if you are buying a house and or selling a house in this day and age, the market has been so volatile. There's been so many up and downs. It is still hot. It is still active. We are still in a seller's market. But if you are thinking of buying a home today, you need to check the comparables in your market. Ask your realtor to go back. So I'll give you guys an example. Indigo Shores. If you go to Indigo Shores in Middle Sackville, it's a pretty significant subdivision, cul-de-sac, whatever you want to call it. It's pretty easy just to isolate Indigo Shores because Indigo Shores is in the Middle Sackville, Beaverbank, and Upper Sackville real estate market. They put all those units together in that market. Beaverbank and Indigo Shores are two completely different markets. So when you're looking for comparables trying to purchase in Indigo Shores, you really want to isolate Indigo Shores to figure out what the last 90 days of comparables are in the area. Now, why 90 days? So you're asking your realtor, say you're trying to buy a house and you want to figure out what the home value is worth. You really want to check your comparables. It's now more important than ever to make sure you're buying at the right price because still there's a lot of volatility in the market. What do I mean by volatility? BC is down. I mean, BC and Ontario, our two leading economic powers in Canada, are both down in historic lows. For instance, Ontario has not seen real estate prices drop down this much since the 90s. That is 30 years ago. So if you're talking, and they are our two leading economic provinces. You don't think that Nova Scotia and Atlantic Canada is not going to be impacted by the economic woes of the two largest moneymakers in the country? Think again. We're just a little slower to react. That's all. So if you are considering buying a house or selling a house, look at comparables for the last 90 days. If you don't have one from 90 days, go as far back as 6 months. But even then, I feel like that is way too far away to be looking at comparables. Why? Well, because Bank of Canada is still cutting rates. They're still holding rates. They're still trying to figure out how to time and manage this economy with all the tariffs from Trump in America and trying to figure out where our trade agreements are and trying to stimulate the economy because there's not enough jobs being created because there's not enough things going on for people to make money. So much volatility is going on. Why does this matter? If you are buying a house, it is the largest transaction of your life, and 9.9 times out of 10 people expect their house to go up in value. When you are looking at comparables, we are trying to safeguard you from making a bad investment. How can you be sure you're making a good investment? You look at what other buyers have paid for houses that are similar size, similar bathroom, similar kitchens, similar floor plans, similar bedrooms, similar layouts, similar land size. It will give you the best idea of what that home that you are thinking of buying is worth. And if you are selling your house, you need to be looking at comparables from the last 90 days. You need the most recent sale comparable, and you need to judge your house honestly. That's what a real estate professional is for. Now, when you're looking at these comparables, the reason why 90 days, you want the most recent sales data. Don't go back 6 months. Don't go back a year. Don't go back 2 years. Don't go back 3. The market's changed way too much. It's constantly flowing in a way we haven't seen in 20 years, 30 years in Halifax. So when you're looking at these comparables, you need to be honest with yourself of, okay, well, this house is a house I really want because it's got a great school district. Okay, great. You want a great school for your kids. You really hard set on this location because maybe it's close to work, maybe it's walking distance to parks, maybe it's all the amenities you want. Just because your heart's set on something doesn't mean you should be making a bad investment. Be practical. Bring up the comparables. Look at the square footage of other houses. Look at the bedrooms of other houses. Look at the Bathrooms. Look at the square footage. Look at the floor plans. Look at the layouts. Look at the finishes. This thing sold at 500K. Does it have a new kitchen? Does it have a new bathroom? Does it have a new floor plan? Do they do flooring? Do they just do a deck? What have they done? And the house you're currently looking at is 550. But there's old dated kitchens. There's dated bathrooms. There's no new flooring in 30 years. It was tenanted. Therefore, it was a certain condition from tenants. Student rentals treat their houses like crap. Let's just be honest. Long-term tenants who are professional will treat their house a little better, a little more kinder. You have to take this stuff into consideration when you're trying to buy a home. True story, and this happened last year. I had a client, I had someone reach out, I think in the summer, about buying a house. They knew what house they wanted, and they wanted to act quickly. So they messaged me 5 p.m. on a random, maybe weekday night. I've got a young daughter who just got home from daycare, so I was spending my time with her. My phone was on do not disturb. I messaged them back to see this house 3 hours later, say, "Hey, I'm available. We can go see this house tomorrow." After they messaged me, they had already called another agent, viewed the house, and wrote an offer. Okay, great. Good luck. No hard feelings. I just didn't get there. I'm busy. I value time with my family. They bought that house, and then 4 to 5 months later, I get a call from this buyer with buyer's regret who felt that they bought the house too quickly. They rushed the inspection, didn't negotiate on things that they should have. It was too much house for them. They wanted to get out of this deal and downsize. Okay, great. They wanted me to sell in the spring. This is 4 months after they bought it. I asked them what the plan with the house was. Single family home. It's downtown Halifax, so it's old Grand Victorians, newer kitchen, newer bathroom, but everything else was pretty dated and a completely unfinished basement. So the plan when they were buying this place was we were gonna finish the basement, and it had no walkout. So they're gonna dig a walkout and blow out a stone foundation wall to put in a walkout. Significant amount of money. It was gonna be a 150, 200, maybe $250,000 renovation to get this thing where it needed to be. Okay, I had to price it out because I knew we were gonna sell this thing in the spring. So when it came to pricing, I looked at the market and looked for comparables, and I found one comparable, one, around the corner that had sold 2 months prior to them buying this house. Single family home, newly renovated, fully finished, completely finished basement apartment. Right around the corner. The actual, like, if you're looking for comparables, this would be the dream comparable. Similar layout, had already done all the work that they wanted to do. Great. It sold at $1,066,000. So $1,066,000. That was the purchase price. You looked at what they bought around the corner, not 2 months later. $1,200,000. $136,000 difference or $34,000 difference. Why does that matter? They're gonna have to put in around, let's be conservative, 200 grand to get this house that they paid for 1.2 million to look like this house that was purchased for $1,066,000. That would have meant that they would have been all in on their purchase at $1,500,000, so 1.5 million. But they would have had negative equity of $434,000 because the comparable sold at $1,066,000. So if someone had done their job and not rushed the transaction, the realtor at the time who they use should have been looking for comparables to figure out what the price was on this purchase. Because here's the problem. I just saw them doing all the work that they were planning on doing. And we were going to sell this thing based on a comparable with a fully finished basement apartment. That's about 80 to 100 grand in value. So I was going to have to list this house on the market in spring 2026 at $966,000 or $949,000. So they're about to take a huge 250, 300K loss without even doing anything because of the rushed purchase. So this is why you consider comparables. And long story short, funny enough, They're not selling the house anymore. They're going to live in a few years, do the work, and then they're going to move on from it. So hopefully the market bounces back for them. But they're stuck. They have negative equity in the property. It was a bad purchase. And this is why comparables are so important when you are considering what to do in real estate. Now, the other side of this, if you are looking to make an investment, buying an investment property, you live and die by comparables. This is not an emotional purchase. This is a business decision. You never want to be the best house on the street. You want to be the worst house on the street when you're investing in real estate. Why? The best houses will push your price up. That's just what they do. They're move-in ready, turnkey, really pretty, great. They'll push your price up because buyers appreciate turnkey, move-in ready, pretty houses. That's what they're there for. You want the house that is $150,000, $200,000 less around the corner, but that needs a bathroom, a kitchen, new flooring. Maybe you blow out a wall and open up the room, living room, dining room, but something that we call it force equity, something that you can force equity into to really increase the value. That is why your comparables matter. If you are buying a house or planning to buy a house and are looking at houses, please do me a favor. Ask your agent to check comparables of the last 90 days of recent solds in your area and price your house accordingly. And if you are trying to negotiate a fair market deal with a seller, show them the comparables. If they're out to lunch on a price that you think is way too high and you don't see the value in the house and the comparables don't line up, have your agent draw up the comparables, put them in a PDF, and send it to the seller's agent with your offer and explain why you feel the house is worth this, worth whatever lowball you're offering, because the comparables back it up and you're not going to overpay for a house in today's real estate market. That is what matters here, is protecting your dollar value, especially in a volatile market where, quite frankly, no one really knows what's happening with the real estate market. Honestly. Okay. If you are selling your house, live by your comparables. Don't go by for sale. Do not look at homes that are comparable as for sale. They haven't sold yet. No buyers bought them. No one's put money up. Do you know why? Because typically they're not worth it. Because in this real estate market, no matter all of its volatility, if you have good condition, good location, and you're priced well, you will still sell your house. It's not dead. It's not barren. Buyers are still very active in this market. So when you are pricing your home to sell, look at the solds. Look at the comparables to make sure that you're where you should be on home value. And if you are going to list your house in a competitive market where there are a lot of active listings, be honest with yourself and compare it to these active listings and probably undercut them a little bit to make yourself stand out a little more. Why? Because they haven't sold yet. If you hear a house, someone say, or a homeowner say, my house hasn't sold because the market's slow. No, it's not because the market's slow. The market's decided that your house isn't worth what you're asking because the market's still hot. The market's still busy. And that is why in this era of real estate that we are currently in, comparables matter now more than ever when you're trying to figure out what your home is worth in today's market. If you have any questions or if you want to talk real estate, we'll have to do this all day. All right, guys. Thank you.